embracing authenticity, freedom from diet, and what does it mean to be weightless? Today on the Creative Life in Motion podcast, I'm your host, Karen Wilson, but we're doing something different today. Today's host will actually be Lisa Lacasse from podcast Choose Your Future. I want to show that to you. I'll make sure that the link is in the show notes below so that you can subscribe to her podcast. A couple of weeks ago, she asked if I would come on to her show and be interviewed about this topic. And so we had a lot of fun. She released a podcast, and then I asked her if I could release it here for you guys. You're going to want to subscribe. One of the things that I really love about what she's all about is she says it right in her description. Let's have fun, not just adding years to our life, but life to our years. Now, Lisa is around the same age as me. And so, we go through all these changes with our bodies and our lifestyles. And yeah, well, I'm just going to let you listen in. And Lisa, take it away.
Hey there. Thank you for joining me on the Choose Your Future podcast. And today I'm so excited. I have a special guest with me. She's somebody I met about 6 or 7 years ago. We were both kind of bored in our little 9 to 5 thing. I'm East Coast, United States. She's West Coast, Canada. And we met online. We were in a mastermind for a few months, and then we finally met. And we've only got to meet in person one time, but it's like we knew each other our whole lives. So, as much as I would like to tell you all the amazing things that this woman has done, I want to just introduce her as my friend, and I'm going to let her tell you the things that she's accomplished. Karen?
Oh, hi, Lisa. You are just way too nice. I'm like, okay. What a sweetheart. You can tell everyone, like, this is why I hang out with her. You should all have a BFF like that just like loves on you. But yeah, okay. So I guess in order to start where it started, when I was 7, that's when I actually began writing stories. And I wrote about just like the regular things, like how to catch and gut fish, like my dad taught me. And then I, wrote a story because we had to write a story for our teacher in our class. And I stood up because my favorite thing was telling people the stories. It wasn't writing, it was actually telling people the stories and seeing the looks on their faces. And it just so happened that it was a story about meeting my famous cousin, him giving me a kiss on the cheek. And I guess it's really not, normal to be kissing your cousin. So I got laughed and I thought, I'm going to save all my stories in my diary.
Well, I
So,
think there is a phrase kissing cousins, and I never really knew what it meant, but now I know it's about Karen and her cousins.
yeah, well, I asked mom, I said, why are they making fun of me? And she's like, I said, can't I marry him? And she's like, no, not unless he's your third cousin. Okay. But 7 years old, I have no idea. And I just knew how I felt, you know? I just felt special. And yeah, so moving right along, and then it became a feeling of embarrassment. And I decided that I wasn't going to share my personal stories anymore. Growing up, I tried things like being a ballerina. I quit ballet. Baseball, heavy hitter, I quit baseball. I was always trying to look for a place where I fit in, and it ended up being the smoking pit at 13. My doctor had this picture on his wall, and it said, "Teenagers, are you tired of being told what to do? Quick, now's the time. Get a job, move out of the house. Well, you still know everything. Pay your own way." And I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. So by the by the time I was 15, my best friend needed a roommate, so I didn't mind sleeping on the floor. I and you know, things didn't really get interesting until I was 18 and I met the one, but I had to fetch him from prison first. That's a story for another day.
The more I talk to you, the more I learn about you. Like, I thought we knew everything. I'm going to just jump a little bit forward here, but Karen has written a book. And as we will get into that, and as I was reading it, I found that Karen had a little weight issue when she was young. And it really, shaped her life, her early childhood, and it had a big role in where she is now and how she progressed and moved forward. And like I talked about in last week's episode of my podcast, sometimes that thing that's our biggest problem ends up being our greatest gift. It's something we overcome, something that we learn from, and something that we can use to help the world. So it's an amazing thing. So I'm sorry, I just had to butt in there. You gave
Yeah,
me the
thank
perfect
you. Because
opportunity, but I'm afraid to talk to you the next time because I'm not sure what I'm going to learn then. But go ahead.
no,
You're
no, thank
rescuing
you.
this sweet man from prison. Go ahead.
You have to butt in for me because I love talking. I love sharing stories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I told you that from the beginning. No, okay. So that's it's great. I love that you read my book. Thank you so much. The book came out of basically a little bit of a frustration. See, my identity was growing up and everything. I had learned to accept the fact that I'm always going to be the big girl. I am this is in my DNA, past the burgers, past the chips. I did not want to change. I I I had no desire to change. I was a happy-go-lucky girl. But by the time I was 27, my health forced me into a change. My hormones were way out of whack, and then I had to have my gallbladder removed. They say you don't need it. Wish I would have known better. But it is valuable to keep it. I've had
Sure.
23 years without it now. I know the difference. That's again another story for another day. But I really didn't know I could until I did. And I had no desire or need or even experience about like what better would feel like until I felt better and I knew what bad felt like. And
Yes.
then it kind of became the catalyst to like, well, what else can I do? However, it did have a negative side effect on me because I began to be associated with, I go from the safe fat girl, for lack of a better way of saying it, to now, oh, this is Karen. She's changed. I don't trust her with my partner anymore. You're so flirtatious. And I began to ask the question of like, well, why is it safe and friendly when I'm fat and flirtatious and dangerous when I'm lean? And either way, I'm still me. And I also became very aware that I could lose all of this amazing attention that I was getting, this amazing feeling that I was getting by putting weight back on. And
Right.
that terrified me. So my motivation was fear. My motivation was terror, but it also took me into a very disordered eating pattern. And so when I wrote the book, I felt like I needed to not only show up as okay, this is why you look at me and you see me moving every day and you see me promoting health and wellness and all the time because I know the catalyst of how it changed my life for the better. But I also want you to know that it was never a diet that worked. For me, it was
Right.
walking.
Right. And Karen, if I can just interrupt for a brief second, we talked about the book a few times, but we never gave it a title and we never kind of said this is what the book is about. And I think that's really important to show the relevancy of what we're saying here. So
Yeah.
go ahead with that.
So I titled the book Be Weightless, Like Your Body, Love Yourself. And the whole theme of the book is really teaching yourself how to almost convince your body that you like it so that you can learn to love yourself. because I fully admit I've never typed into the Google bar how to love my body.
Right. Me
I'm
neither.
like,
And
how
I
do I
might do that
lose
when we're
weight?
done.
How do I lose weight in 10 minutes? You know, like, um, but but the key to weight loss is feeling weightless. At least that's how I feel. And
That's
that's a
great.
feeling of letting go of the diet, letting go of a certain way of exercising, allowing yourself to be free so that you can find out who you are and what sets you on fire, and learning how to exercise energetically and eat energetically, meaning like, does this workout leave me feeling energized? That means it's one I should do again. Does this food leave me feeling energized, or does it take me down and make me feel like gross? We all
Right.
know what that feels like, right?
Right.
So if that was just the only measure, how different would that be?
Right.
And 'cause that's how I started, like, I
Right.
didn't I didn't start out and say, "I'm gonna lose weight." I had to walk my son to school, and, I didn't have a car, and he lived 10 minutes down the hill, and I had a choice. I could either walk up the hill and get sweaty in broad daylight, and everybody would see me and think I might be losing weight, or I could take the long way around in a gradual hill in a neighborhood that there were no cars or anything. And
Yeah.
have no one see me or risk being seen, or, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed by my size. I was embarrassed by the fact that I couldn't walk up the hill. I didn't like getting sweaty. I had all of those things, and so I found that route, and it took me 30 minutes to get home. And the more I did it, the more I liked it because I felt more energy. I could think through my thoughts at the time I was going through, a transition in my life. And so I sorted out problems, and I kind of got attached to that walk. And then my body change followed. And nobody was more shocked than me. So if I then I started making smaller steps, pardon the pun, in and, like, kinda changing the food that I was eating, like, what's gonna make me feel better. Then I'd read
Right.
Women's Day and, you know, all of those magazines to get new recipes and find out new things, and I just progressed little by little, and a year later, it took me 1 year, and I was looking at an entirely different person inside and out in the
So,
mirror.
something I love about this is we always talk about there being more than one way to get healthy, to
Yeah.
lose weight, to basically hit our goals. And I have never read the book about walking your son to school the long way so that nobody sees you sweat. But I love it as a weight loss plan, and I think you're doing a great job.
I'm
So,
currently writing that book right now,
yeah.
actually. I decided to like I've been in a lot of we met through a business kind of thing, trying to figure out what it is that we want to offer. And I've been on that journey, and I actually in 2016 I created my first online course, and it was called the Love Your Body Now Club. And I kinda joked at that, like, at the beginning of the show where I was like, "Nobody's Googling how to love your body." And at the time, I didn't know how to love my body. I was over exercising, I was over dieting, I was really doing all the things that led to, a massive burnout in 2020. It was actually before a couple months before the pandemic hit. So I had to put into place all of these things that convinced my body that I liked it so that my central nervous system could calm. And that was a very important piece that I needed to add to the book, and probably a really important transition that I needed to have before I could actually really truly understand what that meant. So it's so now I had gone, maybe I should help people with video. I'm good at that. And with building online courses, I'm good at that. And I've done all of those things, become a speaker. I'm now doing shows that are formulated from the stories of the books, and I enjoy being a performer and a speaker. But I
So
found that I've circled back to what I really want to help people with is a very similar thing that you do, Lisa. It's like, let's just like put some, health in our bank account and
yes.
feel good and like because we can't punish our bodies. They're going to stay with us forever, but we do need to take care of them and
It's
longevity.
right. And I think that as we age, we start to there's certain things that we lose. We look in the mirror and we lose our confidence because we see these lines that didn't used to be there. And we realize we're not quite as strong. I tried to lift something the other day that I know I could have lifted 5 years ago, and it was heavy. Like it was heavy. I called for help. And like we're just not the same. And yet the other side is so beautiful where we're so much more comfortable as far as not knowing um, like, not caring so much about what other people think. We know what we're capable of. We know what we can do, that sort of thing. And it's just we gotta find that balance, and I love that you realize and I realize that health looks a lot of different ways.
It does.
And, once we get off that thing that we have to be skinny
Hmm.
is is so good, and I love that you go there in your book and learning to love yourself while you're still getting healthier. It doesn't mean you have to love yourself and stop pushing yourself or trying to get better, but you can have a nice balance of both. So go back here and you were doing a great job.
No, that's it's true though. Like how often do we hear, "Oh, well, you just got to love yourself more." And we can say that, but are we really doing that? Are we really, using the nice words or are we using mean words? Like what's inside your head? Is it mean girl or is it nice girl? And
Right.
and so is that an indicator of liking you, or like how would you talk to your 5-year-old self? Is
Right,
that
and
voice?
learning how to see those negative thoughts and
Yeah,
turn around, like,
that's right.
"Oh,
And
man, I'm so out of shape because I walked up the steps carrying laundry and I can't breathe." Well, what are we gonna do about that? Like, we can sit here and
that's
talk
right.
about it, or we can make a small, small change of just climbing the steps a few times a day until we get to the point where we're not out of breath anymore, like, we gotta
Exactly.
stop just
Everything takes practice. That's
yeah,
just that's just it. I have to remind myself of that. I'm really glad you brought that up because I know I listened to last week's podcast and your strength training and you're becoming a bodybuilder strength training, and I think that that's fantastic and it's so timely because at our age, what's the thing we need the most is muscle, and we lose it so fast. Like, I went through the same thing, like, just recently, I was trying to, we have a Jeep, and we took the hard top off to replace it with a
right.
soft top, and we got it off, but I had gravity helping me, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have no idea how I'm gonna get this thing back on." So
Yeah.
I began strength training, and I was able to help my husband get the roof back on, but
It's
not
good
without.
for bones and but to get back on track, I mean, you took this thing, this weight, this hard childhood that you had,
Mhm.
and, you did get a job, you worked hard,
Yeah.
and as a byproduct, you ended up losing your weight, and then you did go into health coaching, I know, and, you put yourself out there and, created some courses. You wrote a book that helps you with that, and like you said, you were doing other things all along the way, and if you know me, Karen, but,
Yeah.
to the listeners, if you know me, I think there's multiple streams of income. We all have so many talents, and we shouldn't limit ourselves to one thing. We should step out of our comfort zone, try new things, and see what works for us because each of those areas we're able to help other people. But why don't you talk about where you're going next, what you're working on now? Because I think it's just wonderful. So, talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so I am actually building out. I actually it is been built out, but I'm actually formally putting it together for a walking program. And at the same time, I'm also writing a book so that we can go deep into the stories. We can go deep into things. And I realize that some people just want the quick and dirty, like just give me the plan. I'm ready to go. So
Yeah, and give
that's
me the results too with
yeah,
that,
that's
please.
right. I want the results. I don't wanna wait for the book because the book is gonna take a couple of months. That's fine. So I started what I called the Walk It Off challenge, and when I'm talking about walk it off, I'm not necessarily talking about weight. I'm talking about, like, whatever else is going on, and I find that a lot of people, especially in the space that I work in now, are not getting away from their computers, from their desks, and it's a very sedentary lifestyle. And I know even with myself, I have to remind myself, get up and move, right? But not only for my physical health, and to like burn calories, it's not anymore so much as burning calories as it is to stay mobile, to have that time for yourself. So what I recommend is not worrying about counting steps or gadgets or calories or weigh-ins. Just get in the habit of doing it, because that's the piece that's the longevity, is
Yes.
that if there's no desire for that habit, then there's no consistency, and it's
Yeah.
start, stop, start, stop. So I piloted this back in May of 2023. It went as a 30-day challenge, and I learned I was a little too aggressive. So,
Oh, you
so
gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm like, "Okay, like, so I can back this up a bit and be a little bit more beginner friendly, and just getting in the habit." And I suppose I'm a little aggressive because for me, I do know, you know, that doing it every single day helps me be consistent, but I also have a dog, right? So I have to. Would I do it every day? If I wasn't, no, and I proved that to myself in between the last dog and the new dog, a year and a half. And my body started to fall apart because yeah, I'd get my workout in the morning, and then I would sit all day, and then I'd get up and I couldn't move. My
Yeah.
hips would tighten up, and I'd tell myself every single day, I'm going to go for a walk today. And I didn't. I kept sliding off my to do list. And that feels worse
You
than,
know,
even deciding.
we really need to see if we can get the SPCA to sponsor us because, like, I think dogs are so wonderful for our health, especially after our children are gone and we're empty nesters. They're good for us emotionally, they're good for us
Yes.
physically, they're good for us mentally. So, if thinking about getting a dog, Karen and I'm going to speak for Karen. We recommend it. So, there's my SPCA plug. Go ahead, Karen, back on track.
Oh, well, we've had 2 from SPCA. Both of them had polar opposite problems and challenges, taught me so much about myself. Yeah, that's the secondary plug, and, it was Whiskey. You remember Whiskey. She passed away when
I do.
yeah.
Karen is the most beautiful, lovable dogs, and she deserves them, of course. But so if people are interested in your walk program, where can they find you? How can they find out about that? Or same with the book or anything that you're offering, because you are just that girl that you're the gift that keeps on giving. And you're so sweet, so compassionate, and you've been there and you've walked the road, and you are such a great person to be able to motivate and encourage and support other women. And I want them to be able to find you. So Tell them. And I will
Okay,
put everything in the
tell them.
show
Oh,
notes too, but you tell them.
oh my goodness. Okay, you can find everything that I've talked about on my website, karenwilson.online. You can crawl it. I have a podcast as well where you'll also find this interview will live as well. I have a YouTube channel, but basically everything is that I've talked about is on my website. On the front page, if you scroll down a bit, you'll find everything. And Lisa, everything that you said about me, like, it's just like, look at this girl. She's so vivacious, and we didn't even talk about how old we are, but there's a 5 in front of there. And, you know, I
And
think
my 5 has an additional 5 on Karen's. There is that.
and
I'm
she's the
the
most
old lady.
loving, giving person, out there. And you know what I love is what you say in your podcast. Can you say that line that you talk about in your podcast about life?
Yes, because Karen is going to have this on her YouTube channel. So for my listeners who don't have to look at my face, don't what she's saying about being lovely. No, there's a reason I'm on podcast. And but for my listeners, we are going to be on Karen's YouTube channel. And what she's talking about is the intro to my podcast where I say, let's add not just more years to our life but life to our years. And really, what is the point of having more years if they're not full of life? Like, let's just keep getting better and better. And by the time we're in our 90s, we are going to be so fabulous that, you know,
It's just going to
I
be
wish we'd always been there.
we'll still be here, right?
That's
We'll still
right.
be
That's
here,
right.
right? Sharing the stuff. So where
So,
can my listeners find you?
So right now, the best places to find me and contact me are on social media. I'm on both Facebook and Instagram at Coach Lisa Lacasse. And you can find me at Choose Your Future Podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I always have all my information in the show notes. So I would love to have you on board. And, maybe you think I should get a YouTube channel, in which case, let me know because this has been quite stressful. So, like, Karen's at the helm, Karen's taking responsibility. Yeah, there's that.
I love it, Lisa. I love it. Thank you so much. And I would love to know from our listeners, now that they've kind of gotten, like, what it's like to listen into one of our BFF chats.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what topic they would like us to, like, really dive deeper into? Because I would really love to do this again with you, Lisa.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's so simple and natural. I like to think that, or at least I think that I'm very non-judgmental, and I love that Karen is as well. Very open-minded. We both have had the ups and the downs. Don't let us fool you by our smiles that we can't wipe off of our faces. We have been through it. And so anything that you would love to hear either us individually or us as a dynamic duo, please let us know and we will conquer that. Anything else you want to add, Karen?
Thanks, Lisa. This has been so much fun.
And thank you, Karen.